The food you eat is building your skin now, and it's building your skin of the future. And I actually think that's really empowering because it means that you have the power to support and enhance your skin with literally every bite. My name is Fiona. I'm a registered nutritionist with a master's degree in nutritional medicine, and on this channel we talk about nutritional skincare, which is the concept that the food that you eat can form an easy, effective part of your skincare routine. So in the last video we covered the 4 principles or the 4 pillars of eating for great skin, and these are the ones that you want to think about every time you're putting together a meal or a snack, and that's fat, fiber, protein and colour. Now if you haven't watched the full video, I encourage you to do so before carrying on with this one, and I'll link it up there. But today we're talking about the 5th principle. Now this isn't something you need to think about every time that you eat, it's more just something to think about every day. What is it? It's culture. By that I mean naturally fermented or naturally cultured foods. So together we have our 5 principles, which are fat, fiber, protein, colour and culture, which are hopefully quite easy to remember. So why do you want to eat cultured and fermented foods for your skin? It's all to do with the gut-skin axis. We know that your gut and your skin are connected. It's a slightly odd thought, but if you think about it, your skin rolls over your face, it goes into your mouth, down all the way through your gastrointestinal system and back out the other end. Odd thought, I know, but physically it is actually one connected structure. But that's not all. Your gut and your skin are also talking via your immune system, your nervous system and your hormones, which means they are chatting all the time. An example of this in action is actually the skin condition dermatitis herpetiformis. Now this really sore rash can crop up when people with celiac disease eat gluten, and it's a really striking, strong example of gut inflammation showing up on the skin. But even if you don't have celiac disease, your gut and your skin are still talking all the time, and a key mediator of all this chat are the bugs that live in your gut. So in case you don't know, you have about 2 to 3 kilos worth of bugs living in your gut, which means there's a mass of bugs which weighs about as much as your brain. Now these bugs are talking to your immune system, they are chit-chatting with your nervous system, and they're sending messages via your hormones, all of which means these bugs have a huge role to play in both the function and the appearance of your skin. So if your gut bugs are like an unruly mob, your skin is going to suffer. But if they are nicely disciplined, ordered little soldiers who are serving you, your skin is going to benefit. So there are 2 main ways to get these gut bugs on side. The first one is to eat a fiber-rich, naturally colourful diet, and I covered that in video 1. And the second way is to eat naturally cultured and fermented foods, because these contain good bugs or good bacteria which act like little captains when you eat them and bring your own gut bugs into order. So let's look at a little bit of science. So studies show that taking probiotics, which are essentially just capsules of these good bacteria, can improve conditions such as acne, atopic dermatitis, which is more commonly known as eczema, and also psoriasis. And just to clarify, that is taking good bacteria into your gut, which has a positive effect on your skin. But even if you don't have a skin condition per se, taking in good bacteria can still really positively affect your skin. So we also have studies that show that when people with healthy skin take in good bacteria, they enjoy things like a stronger skin barrier, reduced sensitivity, protection against UV damage, greater hydration and elasticity, and also reduce signs of aging. Now, doesn't that sound like skincare? Lots of these studies use probiotic capsules simply because they are easier to control and quantify. So you might be wondering, why do I even need to bother with cultured or fermented foods? Can I not just take a probiotic capsule? Yes, you can. There's definitely a place for that, and actually if you'd like me to cover that in another video, comment below and let me know. But the reason I recommend also getting in cultured and fermented foods is because of the diversity and the dose. So number 1, the diversity. Your typical probiotic capsule will contain about 5 different probiotic strains, maybe more, but it's usually fewer than 10. But naturally cultured and fermented foods contain 15, 20 or more different probiotic strains. So it's a really easy way to get in greater diversity, which we know is good for your gut. And number 2 is the dose. Bacteria are measured by the units colony-forming units. Now, just to put this in perspective, one of the most popular probiotic supplements in the UK contains 2 billion colony-forming units per capsule. You might think that that sounds like a lot, but studies also show that if you were to drink 1 serving of kefir, you would get about 600 billion colony-forming units per serving. So the dose between the natural foods and the supplements often isn't even comparable. So we've covered what cultured and fermented foods can do for you and why you want to include them in your diet. Now let's talk about what you actually need to eat. So the 4 most potent cultured and fermented foods are really easy to remember by thinking of the 4 Ks. And full credit to Professor Tim Spector for coming up with this. So the 4 Ks are kefir, kombucha, kimchi and kraut. And kraut is an abbreviated version of sauerkraut. So let's look at them all in a bit more detail. So kefir is fermented milk. Now you can get water kefir, but the most potent ones are fermented cow's milk or fermented goat's milk typically. Now I know that fermented milk sounds kind of disgusting, but it's really not. It's weirdly refreshing and also weirdly addicting. And we actually have studies that show that people who drink kefir regularly can see up to 1/3 of their breakouts disappear. So if you have problem skin, this could be a good choice for you. So you can make kefir and it's really easy. You literally just get some grains, pour over the milk, leave it in a warm place for a day or 2 and strain it and you're done. And I have a recipe for it on my site, which I will link below, but you can also buy it. It's pretty readily available now in most supermarkets or grocery stores. Little tip if you are buying it is just get the bottle, flip it over and make sure it says unpasteurized, because that means that all of the good bacteria have been maintained in the kefir. A good effective dose is about 170 to 240 milliliters, so about a cup of kefir daily. So the next one on our list is kombucha, which is a fermented tea. Now research into kombucha is exploding, and I think I've said it before, but it's a matter of time before we start seeing kombucha crop up actually in our skincare too. Where I find kombucha can be really helpful is as an alternative to a soft drink or a fizzy drink, and also as an alternative to having an alcoholic drink. And I've definitely been known to have kombucha in a champagne glass on more than one occasion. Now again, kombucha is pretty readily available these days, but just a little tip if you are buying it again is flip over the bottle and look at the ingredients. You want one that is just fermented tea or just kombucha, because lots of manufacturers are beginning to blend them with juice, which you don't want. So the typical sugar content for a properly brewed kombucha is about 3 grams of sugar per 100 milliliters. So if the one you're looking at has much more than that, you might want to try another one. Now, one little word of caution, I have found that working with people that if you have fungal acne, kombucha might not be the best choice for you. It's probably because kombucha does contain some natural friendly yeast and there might be an element of cross-reactivity going on. So if you have fungal acne, choose other forms of fermented food for now until your fungal acne is under control, and then you can experiment with bringing kombucha in. Now again, an effective dose is like kefir, it's about 170 to 240 milliliters daily. Moving on to kimchi. Now this is fermented vegetables, typically napa cabbage and also radishes. Now here's the deal. Kimchi smells awful. I mean, literally like damp, moldy tennis shoes, awful. But it tastes really delicious. It's like tart and tangy and sweet and sour and fizzy all at once, and it's all the good bacteria in it that are giving it that complexity of flavour. Now kimchi pairs really well with eggs in the morning, makes a really good cheese and kimchi sandwich, and it's one of those condiments that once you start eating it, you kind of want to start having it with everything. Now we also have a study that shows that when people took a probiotic strain extracted from kimchi, their breakouts improved by over 50%. So this stuff is powerful. And now an effective dose of kimchi is about 2 heaped tablespoons daily. Moving on to sauerkraut. So this is fermented white cabbage, and it's kind of like the European equivalent of kimchi. If you were in any doubt as to whether these cultured and fermented foods are actually affecting your gut, we have studies that show that eating sauerkraut can shift microbial populations in your gut, and they can even help improve symptoms of IBS. Now sauerkraut has a vinegary, tangy flavour that goes really well with meat and fish. It's also super easy to make, and it's also very readily available. And like kimchi, a good serving is about 2 heaped tablespoons daily. So those are the 4 key cultured and fermented foods. Think 4 Ks, so kefir, kombucha, kimchi and kraut. Ideally, you would get one or more of those in daily, but those aren't the only 4. There are lots of other cultured and fermented foods too that may be a little bit less potent, but still really worth including. Things like natural yogurt, smelly aged cheeses, so things like camembert or parmesan, which is actually being investigated for its gut supporting properties, apple cider vinegar, fermented soy products, so properly brewed soy sauce and also tempeh, natural pickles, black Kalamata olives, beet kvass. I hope I've said that correctly. Once you start looking for them, you realise they're everywhere, and that's because humans have been culturing and fermenting foods for about 9,000 years at least. So these foods have infused so many of our food cultures. The idea is just to get a little bit in every day. Remember, by doing that, you're helping to get your gut bugs on side, and you're turning them from an unruly mob which is stressing out your skin to nicely ordered, disciplined soldiers that are serving your skin. So there you have it. We've got the 5 principles of eating for good skin. That is fat, fiber, protein, colour and culture. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time for more videos on nutritional skincare.